Hello, everybody, and welcome to Galactic Wisdom. As you can see, I'm still in my car. I'm still on tour. I am close to the end of my tour. I will be home on Sunday. And so I have traveled around nearly 16 states. I've done so far about 20 events. I have 3 or 4 more still to do. And I've seen some amazing things, had some wonderful experiences. Doing this sort of thing really makes me feel like I'm living life, making the most out of life. We live in a vast universe that is, by volume, almost entirely lifeless and empty. And it's only a few specks of life that are out there in the universe. I mean, there are trillions of them, but they're really, really spread out. So very, very low density of life. And even when we look at our own planet is mostly, it's well over 99.99999% inert matter that is lifeless, hunks of rock and sand and deep down magma. And we are so privileged to be conscious, to be alive, to be part of that 0.00000.1% of this earth and this planet and this universe that is conscious and that is alive. And what I try and do with my life and what I encourage other people to do is to recognize what a wonderful privilege it is to be alive and to go out there and to live, to enjoy yourself, not at the expense of others, but to go out there and live and make the most of your life to attempt to reach our fullest potential. And that's what I'm doing. That's why I'm touring around the US, trying to make the most out of my life, to bring people together, to unite in peace and in friendship. So that is what I'm doing. And at the same time, trying to connect and bring into this peaceful friendship alien beings, non-human entities. Okay, my sunshade is blowing around in the wind, so I'm just going to add some stability to it. There you go, that's better. So I today am in Phoenix, Arizona. Let me tell you a little bit about Phoenix and the Phoenix Lights, which I'm sure you've heard about. 20, 30 years ago, there was the biggest mass sighting probably ever in the world. There was a huge giant, sort of Independence Day sized craft that flew over Phoenix and also a lot of other parts of the US. It was 2 or 3 states, I think, the entire craft, the entire experience of sightings happened. And thousands of people, maybe tens of thousands of people, saw this huge, big triangle or V-shaped craft fly over 2 or 3 different states. And the biggest sighting was over Phoenix. And well, a couple of years ago, I decided to try and figure out what that event was all about. And so I, with people in my groups, we astrally projected back in time to when the Phoenix Lights happened. And we actually projected to that alien craft, and we remotely communicated with the beings in that craft. And we asked them, what was that about? Why did you fly your massive alien vessel over Phoenix and a lot of other places? And in response to that question, they showed us images of in the Independence Day movie. The Independence Day movie where there is an alien invasion. And they showed us images of that scene where there is a huge mothercraft over a skyscraper and it fires an energy weapon down and the whole skyscraper explodes. That's what they showed us when we asked them, why did you fly over Phoenix? And initially, that was a very worrying image for us to be receiving, because Is that, are they trying to infer that they came over in order to blow up our skyscrapers? But in actual fact, the opposite was true, because what they then communicated to us was, when people saw the movie Independence Day, and that's how they were being represented, that's how aliens were being represented, they realized that that was not good for their image. So what they did was they flew their large craft, this huge, massive alien vessel, peacefully over 2 or 3 states, including Phoenix, as a demonstration of their peaceful nature. They demonstrated their size, their power to tens of thousands of people, and obviously to the military and the government. And they showed their immense power and capability and technological capabilities, but they did it in a peaceful way, just a slowly moving craft coming over populated areas, and no weapons, no destruction. And that was why they made that journey. And as soon as I heard that from them, I quickly got online and looked up, when did the Independence Day movie come out? And it turns out that the Independence Day movie came out the preceding year, just a few months before they actually flew over and the Phoenix Lights happened. So that was very interesting timing, and it confirmed what they were saying. So I am here today in Phoenix, in a hot car, in ridiculously hot temperatures, waiting for darkness to fall, and I'm going to go out just north of Phoenix and host another contact event with those beings. So if you'd like to join me, then where are we? Where are we meeting? Emory Trailhead, Emory Henderson Trailhead, something like that. I can't remember the exact location, but if you look up Emory Trailhead on Google Maps, you might be able to find it. If you can't find it, then send me a message, email me at rupertcontactguy@gmail.com, rupertcontactguy@gmail.com, and ask for the directions, and I will tell you where we're going to be. It's 7 o'clock this evening, Mountain Standard Time, on the north side of Phoenix. So I'm looking forward to that. That's going to be fun. Now, in addition, I'm getting very excited about my next tour stop. Tomorrow, I'm hosting an event in Sedona, Arizona. And Sedona is well known as being a UFO hotspot. And a lot of people out there, including quite high people who I have a lot of respect for in the UFO community, they say that there is a military base north of Sedona, underneath the ground, secret, and that they have down there alien vessels. There are even claims, theories that they are working with non-human entities down there under the ground. And I've been watching quite a lot of YouTube videos. Now, you can't trust YouTube videos, but some of the information is good, some of it is not so good, but I've been watching a lot of them, and there seems to be a lot of reliable indications in some of those videos that all you need to do is go out in certain areas at nighttime. My sunshade is blowing around, and let's put more weight on top of it, and you can see UFOs. You can see military helicopter craft being accompanied by and flying around with amber orbs that are coming up out of the ground, and there are many different types of alien craft, including flying saucers and flying triangles. So there seems to be a lot of people out there that basically say, well, yeah, you're guaranteed, if you go to the right places at nighttime, you're guaranteed to see these things. So I only built into my tour a 1 day stop in Sedona, and I'm hosting an event, my own event, close to Bell Rock. Now, the last time I went to Bell Rock and hosted an event there, we did actually see something in the sky during our contact meditations. We saw a zigzagging, luminous vessel come in overhead. Just before it happened, my my battery power for my what am I calling them? Night vision cameras uh, gave me a warning that I was low on battery power, even though I wasn't. And a split second, 2 or 3 seconds after we had seen this thing zigzag up across the sky and disappear, then there was an inexplicable the whole of the sky lit up. It was like a camera flash, but nobody was flashing cameras, and it just lit up the whole sky, and it was very anomalous and weird and interesting. So I've had good experiences in Sedona in seeing UFOs or UAPs, and I am going to be there tomorrow night from 7 to 9 at the Bell Rock Trailhead. You can join us there if you want to, and I'm very hopeful that we will see some interesting things there. But apparently, that's not where the main UFO hotspot is. Apparently, it's north of Sedona in the secret mountain wildlife area. Up there, apparently, this is where it's theorized that there are secret underground military bases and lots of UFO activity. It seems to be military activity, but also alien activity along with it. So who knows? So I don't have much time to explore that area, but I am going to. Now, I'm hosting an event a couple of hours away from Sedona here in Phoenix this evening. So after my event this evening, maybe about 10, 11 o'clock, I will go and get my Taco Bell burritos, give myself some of the mango iced tea to enable my journey to go smoothly. It's actually very windy here, which is why I'm having difficulties with my sunscreen here and things blowing around. So I'm going to go there this evening, and I'm going to see if I'm awake enough, if I can go out there and see UFOs actually this evening. Maybe it'll be early in the morning. It will be 1 or 2 in the morning probably before I get to these locations. But I would like to go and see. That way I can be there for 2 nights, because tomorrow night after my event in Sedona, I'm also going to do the same thing. I'm going to go out there, and I'm going to explore a couple of different areas. The secret mountain wildlife area looks like an interesting place to explore for UFOs. But also you've got this place out there called Bradshaw Ranch, which is northwest of the main central area of Sedona. And so Bradshaw Ranch is a place that is compared sometimes to Skinwalker Ranch. Bradshaw Ranch is a place that has UFO sightings and sightings of other things going on there as well, portals and the feeling of presences. Some of it good, some of it doesn't seem to be particularly good, but it seems to be a very active place. So now you're not allowed onto Bradshaw Ranch, and I won't be allowed into the secret underground military base, but there are areas of land that are legally accessible to the public where you can go close enough that you can look for these things in a legal way. And so that's what I will be doing late this evening and also tomorrow evening. I'm a UFO explorer. I'm a UFO investigator. I'm one of those UFO researchers that actually goes out and tries to find UFOs rather than just sitting in front of a computer Googling UFOs doing internet searches and things. So that's what I'm involved in. And the next day, if I'm not ridiculously tired, I will be hosting an event outside of Las Vegas again, traveling back through Vegas, back to my home state of California. And in Las Vegas, I will be going to Nelson Hills. If you want to, meet us out there in Nelson Hills, at 7 p.m. at the junction of Route C and Route D. That's something you can search for on a map, and it's like a special place, like a place where they, like an easement, or what's the word? A place where they preserve. That's the word I'm looking for. Tortoises. Tortoises are out there. I've never seen a tortoise out there, but apparently it's where tortoises live. So that's nice that they're preserving that area for tortoises. But I will be going out there to a lovely location where I've been probably 30 times in the past. I used to live close to Las Vegas, and we will be hosting an event out there. Now, the last time I hosted an event out there, I picked up my camera, my night vision camera, and as I turned it on, I said to them, please can you appear, I said this telepathically, please can you appear in the same way that you did when I was recording out in the desert north west of Las Vegas, and I managed to record one of your luminous vessels just swooping down behind the mountain. And that's the image I had in my mind. It's like, could you do that again for me? And literally 2 or 3 seconds later, they did it again for me. The same kind of phenomenon, zooming in the same way over the mountain, but this time it was significantly closer. Now, my night vision camera is very good at magnifying light sources so that you can see dim things in the light. And this was quite a bright, luminous object, so it sort of saturates out and you can't see the shape of it, but you can see in this video a luminous something flying down very brightly, appearing in the sky, flying down very brightly down beneath the horizon. And that horizon is only a couple of 100 yards away. So that's pretty cool. What else can I tell you about my tour? Well, I had an interesting time in Marfa, Texas. In Marfa, Texas, that's a place where people for over 100 years have been seeing lights out there in the desert. They call them the Marfa lights. And they seem to just be orbs that come up out of the ground and float around a bit, and nothing particularly special. But there are reports of them going back to long before we had electricity all over the place. And so there are sort of myths and stories and ideas about what these lights are. Some people think they might be the spirits of Native American Indians who are looking for their lost family members, things like that, and walking around with lamps or lights to light their way. I'm not sure if spirits have lamps or lights, but maybe it's the spirits themselves. I don't know. I don't know what they are, but I went to this location, and Marfa has embraced these lights and has made a Marfa Mystery Lights viewing area. It's like a rest stop, a really nice large area with a beautifully constructed restrooms and viewing area where you can go and sit and watch the lights. One thing I love about that place is when you walk around reading the plaques that are out there explaining the history and the geology and of the area. There's one plaque that explains that this viewing area was an idea of some students in the Marfa High School. And they went ahead with their project to see if they could get this built. And because of their efforts, it got built. Well, and that's really nice because, a lot of schools will not go anywhere near the subject of UFOs or the paranormal. In fact, yes, I worked in one of those places one time, and I got into a lot of trouble when the principal heard that I was talking to aliens. And not a good outcome on that one. So it was nice that the Marfa school had a more wise view of the possibility of paranormal phenomena or alien phenomena, and they made this Marfa Lights viewing area. And so I went there. I actually got there early, so I was able to be there 2 nights, even though I was only hosting an event on one of those nights. And when I was there on the first night, there was a number of people there. It was a Saturday, and there were some locals there, and the locals were all looking out in a certain direction, which is to the southwest. And when bright lights started appearing on the horizon and moving along and disappearing out of view and coming back into view and apparently separating at times, um, they they were saying, there they are, there are the Martha lights, and people were getting very excited. And I was looking at the lights thinking, well, could they be anything else? Because, you have to have a healthy amount of skepticism. I'm not interested in just feeding my beliefs. I'm interested in knowing what the truth is. I need to drink something. It's very, very hot here. So I set up my night vision camera on a tripod, and I started videoing that same area of the horizon, and I videoed for about half an hour. Excuse me, drinking some water here. If I don't, I will dehydrate. And I looked at that video the next day, and I fast forwarded it. And when I fast forwarded it, it became very clear that what I was seeing was headlights on a road, headlights that were just moving up and down the road. And that's clearly what it looked like. There were none of the lights were breaking off and flying up into the sky. So straight away, I determined that a lot of people probably who think they're seeing Martha lights are really not seeing Martha lights. And I have read also that somebody did an experiment once, some university students, they went up there to that road and they flashed their headlights, and people were seeing the flashing of the headlights, and they monitored the traffic, the volume of traffic that was going along that road, and compared it to the sightings that were being seen at the location, at the Martha Lights viewing area location, and they matched up. So, a little disappointing, but I was not going to give up, because maybe there really are some actual genuine Martha lights that are out there. And so the second night I went out there and I was looking in other places. And it wasn't the best of nights. There was sort of a fog or a mist or a cloudy layer that was over the ground, so we couldn't see particularly well. But I had a good time, met some nice people. And I decided, I'm here. I've driven here from California and all around the US. I'm going to really make sure that I am confident that I have really tried as hard as I can to see these lights. And so I waited and I waited until everybody drifted away. By about 12 o'clock, there was only like one or two stragglers just sitting quietly in the dark. And I went and lay down on the ground away from the viewing area, and I meditated. And I reached out mentally to any beings that were out there, and I invited them to come in. And then I stood up and looked around, and I walked around the perimeter 2 or 3 times, and I was not seeing anything. So I was just about to go to sleep in my car, and then I noticed on the opposite side of the road, I noticed to the north there was quite a bright light in the sky that I hadn't noticed before. So I got out my night vision camera and I looked, and there were 2 or 3 bright lights, and they were slowly moving. And I hadn't seen that on the south side. And so I thought, well, this is interesting. They don't appear to be flashing, which is what human-made craft flash, with navigation lights, with landing lights. And these 3 lights were not apparently flashing, but they were moving. And not just in a straight line, they were changing direction, which ruled out the possibility of satellites. They were too low for satellites anyway, and it was too late at that time for there to be satellites that are visible. Satellites are flying over all the time, but you only see them when sunlight is reflecting off them, a bit like the moon. And when the sun when the Earth has rotated sufficiently away from the sun, that the the satellites going overhead are completely in shade, you don't see the satellites anymore. So this was about 12:30 at night time. This was the middle of the night. You're not going to see any satellites at that time, but there were lights in the sky. So I set up both of my night vision cameras on tripods and started videoing and watching what was going on. And there were probably hundreds of lights over the next half hour appeared and flew around and interwove with each other, flew off in different directions. And um, let me say, the reason I put my night vision cameras on a tripod, a lot of time people video things in the sky that they say are anomalous, but if you're not holding your camera still, then when the object is moving around on the screen, you can't tell if the object is moving around on the screen because it's moving through the sky or because your hand is moving. That takes away an element of information that is really important. And so I set up my cameras on tripods so that everything would be still. And so any movement that you see is the movement of the objects. And I'm undecided. I'm undecided on what those objects are. When I looked the next day and I fast forwarded through the video, there were swarms of these things. They're swarming up into the sky, changing around, and some of them flying around and back down. There are swarms of them. And so my logical mind has to think, what could they be? Do they have to be alien phenomena, or could they be something else? And in previous episodes, I've talked about this curse that whenever I park somewhere to try and get some quiet, another vehicle comes and parks next to me with its engine running. Well, I now have another vehicle who just pulled up next to me with its engine running, and they don't seem to be going anywhere. So I think I'm going to have to close one of my windows so that I reduce a little bit of that possible noise there. Okay, that's a little bit better. Yeah, that's the Rupert noise curse. Okay, so what was I talking about? Marfa lights. When I fast forward through that video and you see swarms of these lights, I'm wondering if I'm videoing the sky above a really extremely active military airport where they do maneuvers at 12 o'clock, 12:30, 1 a.m. in the morning, then maybe that could explain that. I don't know, because, when you have commercial airlines flying, you get, I don't know, a minute between each plane as it passes a certain point in the sky, because they don't want to crash into each other. But with these planes, there was only about 7 seconds between a lot of them. I was counting, and so it would have to be a military operations where they can break all the rules and do dangerous things, or aliens, or spiritual orbs, or something weird. So what I'm going to do is I have friends who are military experts. I've got a friend who's a military helicopter pilot. I'm going to show him the video and get his feedback about what he thinks it could be, and then I'll get back to you and tell you. But definitely interesting and definitely unusual. Yes. So anyway, that's my touring. I'll be home on Sunday, and so hopefully, you know what? I'm not sure. I'm not sure about next week. I'll have to figure that out. I might be doing something else. I'm a busy person. But anyway, what next? The title of today's show is called Bad Species. Bad species, and I put out some questions to consider in my description for this podcast. And the questions were things like: are mosquitoes bad? Great white sharks bad? Are any species overall bad? Are humans good or bad? Overall good or overall bad? is it right for mosquitoes to suck our blood? Or is it wrong? Is it right for a tiger to eat a person? Or is it wrong? Is it right for a person to eat an animal? Or is it wrong? These are important questions. They really cut to to the heart of what do we mean by morality? What do we mean by good and bad? What do we mean by right and wrong? And we can also extend this and apply this to aliens. And we can also think about the implications of what it means if a species is bad or is wrong or violent or aggressive. Like, are we ever justified in destroying a species? If we do, what are the implications for our own species? Is it okay to destroy things that are destructive? These are big moral questions, and this show is called Galactic Wisdom, so we're going to talk about them. But I'm going to take some more blackberry lemonade flavored water. Doesn't look like it's got anything in it. It's got 0 sugar, 0 calories, 0 caffeine, 0 sodium per serving, but apparently it's got something in it because it doesn't taste just like water. Not bad. I've not had that before. Nice and refreshing. Okay, let's get to it. So when I go out doing contact events, the mosquitoes come in. It's like they have access to my tour schedule and they're ready and waiting. And I think they're probably transdimensional because they can not be anywhere in sight and I can still get bitten by them. Anyway, I went out about a week ago, did a contact event in Texas, and after that event, I realized that in the very narrow, like 1 millimeter space between the top of my boot and where my trousers, English, so I say trousers, come down to, there was a little bit of space. And the mosquitoes, or maybe red ants, I'm not sure. Something, I think I would have felt that if ants were biting me, but it must have been the mosquitoes. They came in, and I now have a perfect ring of maybe about 10 mosquito bites around my ankles. Not my ankles, a little higher up, around the lower part of my legs. And anywhere else they could get to. I got one on my head, one on my neck, wherever else they could get to, all over my arms, my shoulders, my back somehow, wherever they could get to, they were biting me. And so we can ask the question, are mosquitoes good or are they bad? Well, when we ask that question, we have to say, well, good for who or bad for who? And I can conclusively say that mosquitoes are bad for me. And I think it's fair to say that mosquitoes are bad for humans. And mosquitoes actually carry diseases in different parts of the world, and millions of people die every year because of mosquito-borne illnesses. Hopefully, I'm not going to die because of mosquito-borne illnesses. Those illnesses are not as prevalent in the US as they are in other countries. So, so mosquitoes are bad for humans. Mosquitoes don't just suck the blood of humans; they suck the blood of whatever other animals are out there that they can find. Other mammals, whether it's fox or coyote or mountain lions or cattle, whatever organisms are out there, mosquitoes will go and suck their blood. And that's bad for all of those creatures. Mosquitoes are predators, they're parasitic, they feed on others. And so they're, I think it's fair to say, if we use the word bad in the way that I'm using it, mosquitoes are a bad species. They're only really good for each other, like when they get together and make babies and whatever they do, party, sit on a branch somewhere and look out at the sunset. They're probably good for each other, but they're not good for any other species. And so then we go through this thing where we could ask, so what should we do about that? Does it seem justified that we could wipe them out as a species if they really, as a species, inherently they are bad? They don't contribute positively to the universe other than, among their own species. So should we just wipe them out? That would save a lot of people. It would reduce a lot of pain and suffering. It would enable me to go out and do my contact events without dressing up in a suit of armor. So we could ask that question. Now, this is not a matter of a universally right or wrong answer. Like, this is not a mathematical equation where I can say this is the answer. This is a subjective question, a subjective matter, and we can all have our opinions about it, but it is subjective. Morality is subjective. Part of me, I'm not sure that like the idea is right, but part of me wonders if it wouldn't be morally right, the lesser of two evils, to wipe out mosquitoes if that was a possibility. Part of me wonders that. I'm not saying that that's what I would do. I'm saying I can see that, I can feel that that might be something I would consider. But there's more to this if we continue. So then we could ask ourselves, well, what about human beings? Because human beings do bad things to other species that are out there. To some species, human beings don't do any good things. I mean, we are literally moving around the world. We've been expanding out into the world over the last 200 or 300 years, destroying nature, replacing nature with our own stuff, whether it's buildings or agriculture, planting plants to feed ourselves and planting plants to feed the animals that we eat. We're pretty much wiping out nature. I wonder if I can remember some of the statistics. Of all of the mammals on the planet right now, human beings make up about a third of the animals. About 60% of the animals of mammals I'm talking about, the cows, the pigs, the goats, the mammals that we eat. And it's only about 4% of all of the mammals on the planet that are now in the wild. 4%, from mice to whales. 4% of the mammals on this planet. Only 4% are in the wild, or wild animals. We have taken over huge amounts of the planet. Something like 70% of the mass of birds on the planet. Chickens and ducks and the animals that and the birds that we eat. So we really are not a good species. In fact, human beings have initiated, and this is scientifically recognized, the next big mass extinction of species. The extinction rate of species on this planet is many times higher than just a natural background level of extinction. And when you look and see what we're doing, when you look into the future and see that we're accelerating this destruction, we really are a very parasitic species. We are resulting in the extinction of many species. And due to our pollution and climate change activities, we are pushing this mass extinction, and it's going to go through to its end. There's no way we're going to stop. I've been watching this subject my entire life and seeing all the scientists and good people out there trying to say, hey, governments, this is important, we're killing ourselves. And governments saying, yeah, but we're funded by the oil industry, so sorry, we're just going to destroy everybody, including ourselves. That's basically what's happening. So if human beings are that bad, could we be described as overall a bad species? Overall, are the human species, is that human species a good species or a bad species? Well, if you look at overall whether we help nature or whether we destroy nature. If you look overall whether we help species or destroy species, we destroy species. We kill billions of animals every day. Um, and the conditions that we keep them in and the conditions that we kill them in are horrific. Um, and, I'm not going to go into details now because I've talked about this before, but overall, is humanity a good species or a bad species? Well, if it was a scale thing, we would have to say, well, we're more bad than we are good. How about to humans? Well, we're destroying ourselves. We're destroying other humans. People who are engaged in activities and lifestyles which are contributing actively to climate change are killing people. All of the countless trillions of future humans, they're not going to exist. The countless trillions of human babies that were going to be born, that could be born potentially, they're not going to be born because we're destroying our environment. Now, I'm a scientist, so I can back this up with facts. And the facts are, if you look at things like the Keeling curve, the amount of carbon dioxide, the amount of methane that get released into the atmosphere on a daily basis, the facts, the graphs, the figures, the data shows that we are committing ourselves to an increase in temperature that is going to result in terrible, terrible things, shall I say. If you do a rough estimate of the temperature rise that our greenhouse gas emissions will already have caused, there's a time lag on this, but we can see the history of figures throughout our history going back 100,000 years or so. So we know that this is true. We are going to have a global average increase in temperature of, well, at least 10 degrees Fahrenheit, more likely 20 degrees Fahrenheit, but we're not stopping. And there's like a runaway feedback loop. So very likely 30, 40 degrees Fahrenheit. Are you ready for your summers, wherever you live, to be 20 degrees Fahrenheit hotter? That's about 40 degrees Celsius. You can't live in that. We are a very destructive species. So what are the implications? Should we, if we think that wiping out a species of like mosquitoes or ticks, or we could even look at a smaller level, like living organisms like bacteria or viruses, although viruses technically are not considered to be alive, but they have DNA. Did I just lose everybody? Okay. Am I still on? My screen just went light. Sorry, my screen just went dark. I think I'm still live. Hey, Bill, if you're there, can you let me know if I'm still on? Okay, I seem to. Okay, I see myself still there talking, so I'm going to keep talking. Sorry, my screen just blacked out and I thought my phone had shut out, but it hasn't. So if if mosquitoes are a species that we might want to get rid of, shouldn't we do the same to humans? Well, obviously we're not going to, but these are important questions to ask. If we're not going to destroy ourselves, if we're not going to wipe out human beings in order to, stop ourselves from wiping out other species, then maybe we shouldn't be wiping out mosquitoes. And if we're going to wipe out mosquitoes because they're bad, does that mean we also have to wipe out great white sharks and crocodiles and alligators and rattlesnakes? And if we go down that route, then we become very, very destructive creatures because we're wiping out so many species. We're wiping out all of the species that might harm us in any way. And why are we special? Should we therefore not be wiping out all of the other species who are out there who are in any way predatory? Not just to humans, but bigger fish eating a smaller fish. Should we be wiping out all species that are not exclusively herbivores? I think most sane people would say, no, we can't do that. We can't wipe out those species. So if we're not going to wipe out any species, maybe if we're not going to wipe out all of those species, then maybe we shouldn't be wiping out any of those species. Maybe it is wrong to wipe out mosquitoes, even though I actually want to. Maybe it's wrong to do that. And then that gets us thinking, even more about these things. If we're deciding that we don't want to go down that path of wiping out other species at all, then even though they're bad, then what does that tell us about how we interact with people, how we treat people, human beings who are bad people? There are plenty of people on this planet who do bad things. I mean, I would argue most of them do bad things. Does that mean we should just wipe out anybody that does anything bad? Should we just wipe out, where do you draw the line? You might wipe out all the murderers, but where do you draw the line? Do you wipe out the people who say nasty things to each other? Obviously, we're going down a pathway that takes us to very dark places, and we end up being the most bad of all. And that is not a direction that I think we should go down. So where does that leave us? It leaves us behaving a little bit like our alien friends. When people attack our alien friends, the aliens do not attack back. Now, when I have heard incidents of human beings who get out their guns and are literally shooting at aliens, and literally the aliens decide to shoot back in self-defense, yes. But in general, humanity is shooting down, at least the industrial military complex, is shooting down alien craft, has been for decades. And aliens have not responded by going to war with us. If they had, we wouldn't be here because they're way more powerful than we are. So maybe we should take a page out of their book and not respond to people doing bad things with badness. If you use the word darkness, there are dark people all around this planet. And many people respond to people who are dark with their own darknesses by attacking them, by putting them in jail, by cancelling them, by being mean back to them, by giving them a taste of their own action. Is that the right expression? Their own, whatever. I can't think what the expression is. And taste of their own medicine. That's the expression. And I have to say that even though this is subjective, I'm going to tell you my opinion. I've got a very bright light coming on my screen now. I'm going to see if I can deal with it a little bit. It's a little bit hard to keep the sun out of here. That's a bit better. I think the only way to deal with this whole issue is to understand that if you go a little bit in that direction, it's all in the same direction and it's all bad. You can't overcome darkness with darkness. If you've got a dark area of the room, you can't get more darkness in to try and undarken that darkness. You have to bring in light. The only way to get rid of darkness is with light. So I'm an extremist. I think that being extremely peaceful is what we need to be. That's the only way that we're going to survive this. It's the only way we're going to survive the next few decades. To be extremely peaceful, to be extremely loving, to be extremely kind, to be extremely caring. Now, obviously, that leaves us in an awkward situation because, well, there are people all around on this planet doing bad things. What do we